You can't see a thing. You cannot see a thing. I'm on the hill. We're at the reservoir. But we are live in the mist. Not quite Christmas. We're a little bit late for that. Not yet New Year's. And you should see an epic view. But instead, I'm in a cloud. We've got a wall of white, a misty wall of white as we reflect on the 48-hour fast and some New Year's reflections, some New Year's revelations. We've got some chainsaw noises in the distance somewhere off. That is a hill, believe it or not, we are up on the hill. I see Daniel in the chat. I see Casey in the chat. Welcome, real time. We're up at the reservoir. The ice is forming on the water. Got the weight vest on. Rinny, welcome back. Good to see you here. It's Friday. Good to be here on the hillside. Amanda in the chat. Hi Jordan, so much love from Vermont. Maybe you have similar weather over in Vermont. I know it's been snowing a little bit on the East Coast, so welcome to the live stream. We're doing some moody reflections, and Daniel said earlier in the chat I had my most challenging hike yesterday in the mist, and I loved it. I love it as well. I really like walking in this mist, and we're going to venture down together into the misty underbelly and get some nice silhouettes of the trees in the background, because I think this setup, although it's ideal, doesn't really provide you very much visually, whereas the silhouettes are going to be quite interesting as we talk about the fast. Just repeating myself as YouTubers do for the first 2 or 3 minutes of the stream. I see, it's a good way of letting people fill in. Amanda said hello, we already said there. Uma said hi Jordan. Emily says good morning from Arizona. Good morning from Arizona. I'm sure you've got very different weather. I'm going to take a walk into the misty English woods. Let me know what it's like for you this very Merry Christmas. Amir, good to see you, brother. I hope you're well. I really do. Let's go for a little walk down into the valley. As I walk down to the valley, question for anyone who's watching live before we talk about the 48-hour fast. I fasted roughly just after the winter solstice into the very end of Christmas Eve and had a few personal, spiritual breakthroughs, which I'm very excited to share with you. And I'm likewise in a similar mood to you, reflecting on the end of the year, progression into the next year ahead, and we're going to talk and walk and do everything in good proportion on this wonderful misty stream. As I walk down the hill, just through the brambles down here, let me know which books you've been reading on this festive interlude where work is kind of quiet, family may be quiet or may not be too quiet, but let me know what you've been reading this week and we'll bring out a community smorgasbord of inner work. I see Lonely K in the chat, welcome back. I also see Casey saying dreary and hoping for rain in South Carolina. Fantastic, and we've got some cold and snowy weather chat. Amanda said I just reread Little Women. Fantastic. What else has everyone been reading? Drop it in the chat. Gonna navigate the brambles. I've personally been reading The Sacred and the Profane by Mircea Eliade. The history of, I think that's how you say his name. I've only ever read his name. He's a famous scholar of religious history. Very famous book, The Sacred and the Profane, talking about the difference between banality and mundanity and what happens when the quote-unquote religious man becomes the non-religious man of the 21st century. Fantastic book. I think it was written in the 50s. That's what I was reading this week. And I was also reading a bit of a Christmas book, Going to Church in Medieval England. It's a book by Nicholas Orme and it's about English church history, and it's more of a cultural anthropology, not necessarily a psychology book, but anthropology and psychology kind of go together. They're very similar. So let me know what you've been reading. Those are 2 books that I've been reading this week. For anyone who's joining live, we're going to be talking about the fasting experience that I had. We're going to be talking about your intentions for the new year ahead, and also enjoy the misty ambience. Look at that, it's foreboding. There's a sense of, I don't know about you, but when I walk in the misty woods, you feel like you're in a novel, right? You feel like everything takes on a bit more significance. There's light rain, not quite snow, but a bit heavier than rain in the air. Air's crisp. Just like us, can't avoid our red flags. If they've piled up in 2024, they're going to be with you in 2025. I mean, technically speaking, I can walk away from this red flag. and just leave it in the background. But this is not representative of what it's like in your inner world when you're trying to run away from your problems. I mean, literally, I can run away from these problems, but it'll be back there. It'll be there next week, and it'll be right there waiting for us. Now we're down the hill. Gonna go off on an unknown path. You're gonna experience the golf course and the English woods in a way that you've never experienced it before. And I'm gonna see what people have been reading as I'm checking the chat now. I've got a few people coming in saying that they've been reading Psychoanalytic Diagnosis by Nancy McWilliams from Elizabeth. Sounds good. Daniel Reed said Under Saturn's Shadow, which is by James Hollis, just dropped through the door. Fantastic. I mean, Under Saturn's Shadow by James Hollis is a book about the heaviness and the Saturnian energy of, to some degree, death energy, but at the very least, constriction, restraint, severity, weightiness. Fantastic book. Very interesting if you're dealing with father complex issues in particular. I see Rinny in the chat saying, I didn't read for the past 2 weeks. I was busy being with myself and processing my dog's death. Sorry for your loss, and I'm glad you've taken the time for yourself. I see Amir in the chat. My friend Amir, I've been reading Somatic Internal Family Systems Therapy and Bodies in Revolt by Thomas Hanna. Somatic Internal Family Systems Therapy. I can speak about that one with confidence. I haven't read the other one. But if you are interested in parts work, you already know that your inner child lives in here. You're aware of the archetypal quality of the psyche in the numinous outer world, and you like the trauma-based approach of internal family systems in particular, but you haven't made the step forwards quite literally into somatic internal family systems therapy. I think it's by Martha Sweezy. Get that book. I've had several clients, I'd say around 10 clients at this stage, who've read that book after reading the basic parts work books like Embracing Your Inner Critic, Healing the Child Within, Archetype by Anthony Stevens, those basic books. They then go on to somatic internal family systems and effectively forms a bridge between the psychological parts work approach and the somatic parts work approach. You'll learn where your inner child lives inside of you. You'll learn where the wounded parts express in your shoulders and your throat and your eyes and your blinky, traumatized nature. Ever noticed this? Ever noticed when you've spoken with someone that they blink a lot, or they're really wide-eyed? It's a trauma response. The body's not safe. Even things like chronic inflammation, chronic fatigue, various degenerative diseases, they're phobias of the nervous system. As I said to someone recently in a call, it's a phobia of the nervous system. When you have a degenerative disease, especially if it's a low-grade chronic inflammation. I personally got diagnosed with a very specific and rare form of arthritis when I was 18, and the doctor said to me, Jordan, be careful. Based on this rare form of arthritis, you should be breaking your bones, dislocating several times per year, and you definitely should be careful when you go off to university. So what did I do? I said, thank you, Mr. Doctor. Shook his hand, and then I did what I fucking wanted to, and I ignored all of his advice, and I thought, you know what, I'm not gonna let this arthritic condition hold me back. So I went and did 2 of the hardest possible types of sport in terms of your joints. I did Olympic weightlifting, which is all about the snatch and the clean and jerk, which is heavy barbells and extended positions, and I did gymnastics, which is likewise very hard on the joints and the shoulders. But you know what? Through proper strengthening of the Olympic weightlifting and the gymnastics rings in particular, touch wood, I get to do this because I'm in a forest, but touch wood, let's get into the woods. For now and the foreseeable future, I have never once dislocated or broken a bone. Ever. Even though, according to doctor's orders, I've got a chronic inflammation in my joints, this arthritic condition that was diagnosed when I was 18, and he said, you're a very vulnerable man, you better be careful. I said, fuck you. I didn't say it to him. I internally said, fuck you. I'm going to heal myself, and I started with sport, and I just made sure to always warm up my wrists and ankles and shoulders in a way that's longevity promoting. Much longer warm-up routine than most young men going to the gym. But it worked. So that's anecdotal. I'm not a medical professional. If you've got certain conditions, that's just my story, just in case YouTube's listening. But somatic internal family systems, bringing it all back. I wonder what the story was of my inner parts, my childhood trauma, dare I say it, moments that weren't so good that my body remembered, and the inflammation in my joints. Why? Why did I have that? Why might you have various inflammation responses, allergies? It's a bit wintry, got a little bit of a winter sniffle. That's not quite the same thing, but perpetual allergies. It's a phobia of the nervous system. What are you really allergic to? Allergic to life? Allergic to yourself? Allergic to a certain individual who you grew up with or you're exposed to? It's very interesting how people have chronic allergies. They can move halfway around the world, and maybe the pollen changes, but also the environment changes. They're not around the same people they used to be around. Body creates systems of defense, and it's worth considering how your inner child, your various central archetypes, your various parts, all relate to the nervous system. Read Somatic Internal Family Systems Therapy. Little talk there as we launched off from the chat. I'm going to go back in as we walk back up. I didn't get to a question. I'm scrolling back up right now. I see, wow, I was talking for a while. There's plenty in the chat here. So we just kicked off with Amir's Somatic Internal Family Systems Therapy. We then had 3K saying they started Muhammad Ali's autobiography, the depth of his suffering and his spiritual beliefs and values. Fantastic, but it's a good read. I see Alana saying they're reading Tony Rodriguez, Sarah's Colony Cavalier. Lonely K reading Alexander Lowen. AL reading Trauma in the Soul by Donald Kalschert in Belgium. Fantastic read. Come on, Trauma in the Soul, the text on dissociation and how to heal it. Reading the I Ching, reading Bruce Lee's book. Various, interesting, isn't it? Muhammad Ali's book and Bruce Lee's book. Got some fighter energy this week going on in the community. I wonder if that's going to come back in the stream. I see Aaron to Gomez as we've unfortunately encountered another red flag. Aaron to, this might not be you in particular, but red flag. I was just going to listen to one of your videos and you happen to be doing a live synchronicities, yeah. Synchronous red flag. What I'm going to do, because the golfers are coming up and they'll probably want to play this hole, is I'm going to take you to a place that we don't normally go. Normally, we follow the wires up. We go up onto the hillside. But what I'm going to do, because it's misty, is I'm going to take you into the woody area. I don't know if the signal is going to be the best. I'm going to come back into the chat and read what you've been saying. I don't know if the signal is going to be the best, but we're going to take a bit of a creative risk and have more of a silhouetted backdrop for your melancholic viewing pleasure into this area. So we're going to go down into the woods, set up somewhere, and Amir says as well, Amir, if you remember just a few minutes ago, he's reading Somatic Internal Family Systems. He said, haha, I'm just heading to my Muay Thai training. Fighter's energy in this live. I think so. I think we do have some fighter's energy in this live. I definitely did some spiritual fighting over this week. Maybe that's a good launching point for what I've been experiencing. You clicked on this video, you might be wondering, well, what is this 48-hour fast that Jordan did? Why is he not being holly and jolly and merry this Christmas time? Well, firstly, I think there's a much deeper meaning to Christmas than the meaning that we culturally ascribe, at least at the more superficial, materialistic level. This is obvious. I'm not going to rail on, oh, why do we buy all these things? And it's just, we're all beyond that type of conversation. We don't need to arrogantly pretend that we're better than everyone else because we don't drink alcohol and get shit-faced and do lots of drugs and spend lots of money on designer clothes that we don't need and blah, 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 blah. Maybe we participate in a little bit of that, but that's not the direction I'm going to take this stream. I did a fast for 48 hours. I see it, yeah, in the chat there. Let's ignore the massive red flags. We will ignore the massive red flags. Which way should we go? Descending path? We're at the fork in the road. Before we get into Christmas. So we're at the fork in the road. There's an interesting history with this tree. Once one of my close friends climbed this tree. It's a big tree. We'll see it when we go one way. And there's also a very particular significance on this fork in the road in particular, if you're interested in the history of my feet. And we'll come to the fast. So this fork, between going down or going up, believe it or not, caveat, if you like barefoot walking, You've had an experience once or twice where you've received a puncture. You step on something sharp. Kind of happens, it's to be expected. People who don't do barefoot walking think it happens all the time. It doesn't happen all the time if you're walking in a natural place. But this spot here is where I received the worst puncture in my foot that I've ever received. I stepped on a thorn, and it was a particularly long thorn, and it was at least as long as my fingernail, and it went all the way in, right on the soft part in the middle of my foot, and it was painful. Went back, disinfected it, it was all fine, it healed up, just a thorn. But I had to hobble down the hill. And that's the only time in 5 years of living here doing barefoot, Thorn versus Thornton from Rinny in the chat, exactly. And Thornton won because only once my feet have toughened like slabs of lead, energized lead underfoot. Currently, I'm wearing the barefoot boots because it is a bit cold and a bit slippy. But only time in 5 years of more or less consistent barefoot walking for about 8 or 9 months of the year. I got thorned, but I did survive. I was wounded, but not wasted. I was bruised, but not buried. We're heading down the path from the fork in the road. You can see just how beautiful this looks. I think this was the right choice. We're going on the MISTY woodland walk. Yeah, wounded healer. Someone said in the chat, Shadow Sister Healing. I survived the thorn. If you're looking to get into barefoot walking next year in your local wooded area, know that you won't actually hurt yourself all too often if you're paying attention to where you're walking. Your greatest risk is stepping in dog shit rather than stepping on something sharp, unless you hang out in areas where delinquent youths smash bottles and leave all kinds of sharp things on the floor. Let's get back to fasting. So, I will resume. I did a 48-hour fast this Christmas as a way of giving myself the gift that I really needed. Fundamentally, that's what I did. Throughout this year, I have had a variety of very expansive, wonderful opportunities. But with those wonderful opportunities, as I shared in the community post last week, has come much more responsibility and much more social obligation than I naturally care for. By nature, I'm very much a one-to-one kind of person. The reason I can do these live streams is although it's me and I see live almost 50 people joining live and then 1,000 people will watch this on replay, I treat this like a one-to-one conversation. It's like me and you having a conversation. My body and my soul can handle that. But this year, by God's grace, through very wonderful means, my channel has grown to about 45,000 more people have shown up in my life. And my DM box, in terms of one-to-one mentorships, is always being rung. Every single week when I get back online after my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday offline, I have between 2 to 5 people saying, "Hey Jordan, I've been watching you for insert number of weeks or months or even years. I'm ready to begin. How can we start things?" And then I start these conversations. That's just one aspect of my life. Many, many, many people, individuals like yourself joining me on YouTube, many, many people going a little bit further to want to do one-to-one private work together, and in between, my dozens of students inside the Shadow Work Library, and they're sending me messages, and they're making incredible progress through some very difficult emotional themes and very aspirational, self-actualizing themes. Fundamentally speaking, I am one man. I'm one man. And YouTube told me that I've got about 1.5 million views on the channel and hundreds of points of interaction with the world every single week. That's this year. I needed to take a break. I needed to take a proper break. I normally go offline, but when I go offline, I'm often doing research, I'm creating videos, and sometimes I have moments with people who are close to me, but I still restore every single week. It's fantastic. But this year, I wanted to do something a little bit more. I have a history of fasting, as I've mentioned on the channel many times. I did between 25 to 30 fasts throughout. I'll put you in this tree. I did 25 to 30 fasts between about age, I don't know, what was I doing? About 4, 5, 6 year period. I was doing a lot of fasts. But I haven't in a while because the business has been expanding and I've needed my energy to be able to work at full capacity. I I needed to give myself a break. Hanging out in the tree. What's that? Come on. The ivy. I needed to give myself a spiritual and digestive break. So that's the gift that I gave myself this Christmas. I like celebrating the winter solstice. On the 21st, 22nd, I enjoy the energy of this. From an esoteric perspective, according to my understanding, the original esoteric implications of Christmas is between, in the 3-day period, think of the Christian story, just a story, you don't need to take it if you're against Christianity, it's just a story, but the story is 3 days of death and resurrection. The winter solstice to Christmas Day, there's 3 in the middle, there's a 3-day period, the darkest time of the year, the cave, as it were. Interesting symbolism, right? Jesus dies, buried in the cave, 3 days, and then he rises. I know we celebrate this Easter, but just consider that based on the seasonal calendar, for the 3 darkest days of the year, from the moment of greatest darkness to the moment of Christmas Day, there's a 3-day period. And this year I wanted to fast during that 3-day period and see which kinds of spiritual or purifying energies came my way. I think the second fast of the year. I haven't fasted in a long time, and let me tell you, if you've never fasted on a solstice or an equinox, and especially if you've never fasted in that special 3-day window between solstice and Christmas, consider doing it next year. I had a wonderful experience. For the first day, not much happened. Really, for the second day, not much happened. I was slower. I was reading a bit. Obviously wasn't eating. Finished eating in the evening, the day before. But what was happening on the inside is what I want to talk about. Especially on the second day. By the second day of the fast, unlike my regular state of consciousness, where I'm aware of my half a dozen clients, at any given point in the last 5 years almost, I've had somewhere between 4 to 8 clients, almost continuously, and I'm energetically connected with them at the heart level, at the mind level, at the soul level, let me be honest. I'm always connected with the people who are closest to me and working with me one-to-one. That's part of the mentorship experience. We're intimately connected for 4 months, 4 days per week, and I love that experience. It's how you do deep, transformative, advanced work. You need to have that consistent thread. Still, well-boundaried, professionally put together, but well, it's all there. It's all there. During the second day of the fast, I noticed for the first time, I think this year, how I didn't think about my clients even once. In the best sense possible. If any of you guys are watching currently, it's not that I don't care about you, it's just that my energy withdrew. Didn't think about my clients. Not only that, as the train goes past, I didn't think about YouTube. That's a big one. I didn't think about all the messages in my inbox. In fact, I didn't even think at all for multiple minutes in a row, especially after around the 34, 35 hour mark. I was still well hydrated, I was still taking salt and lemon, but I experienced, for one of the first times this year, I'll be real with you, moments of no mind, where I'd sit in the library, breathing in the aroma of the clove and the cinnamon from my incense diffuser. I just sat there. I was empty. So fundamentally empty. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the experience of being fully cleaned out. But it got even better. That state continued throughout the day, and I did a bit of writing in the community section. I've got a post coming out on Sunday. Just a little bit. Wasn't going deep into work mode. But then, things got particularly good. At around hour 43 of the 48-hour fast, I suddenly, rather unexpectedly, got a rather strong wave of energy, and it forced me to my feet. Imagine I'm sat down on the library floor, sat down like this, I'm reading a book. See my friend down here. I'm currently on a live stream. Shall I keep you out? Shall I keep you out of it? I'll face this way. Okay. Merry Christmas. All the best. Just wanted to respect his privacy. But anyway, imagine that I'm Sat down on the library floor. Suddenly the energy came up. I went over to my laptop. You know what's interesting? You'll really like this. You'll like this. I don't think you'll see it. He lives just over there. And about 2 minutes ago, I thought, oh, so-and-so, he lives here. I feel like I'm going to see him. A little bit of a premonition moment, and then he literally appeared. So funny. He's a very alternative guy. We've had some good conversations while I've been barefoot walking, and I knew because he lives right over there, that I'd see him with his dogs walking. We're tapped in. If you want to get spiritually open, do a little fast, see what happens to you. Nice moment. Anyway, I sat down on the library floor. Suddenly, stood up against my will. I was over to the laptop. And for the next 5 hours, I did everything that I needed to do to upgrade the shadow work library, to prepare for the group coaching and Sunday seminars that I'm kicking off in January and February. It's not a promo advert, it's not me all leading to this. I was genuinely surprised because this has been a struggle for me. I've been at energetic max capacity, but I fully emptied out and I did all of the things I hate from a business perspective. All of the back-end, website, technological things, I just had the clarity and there was a real grace inside of me as we hang out with the Pines. And I sat down on the laptop and I just worked for 4 hours straight and I felt good about it. I set up the community on Circle, I made some posts, I set up the discussion spaces, I tested out the tech. We're ready to go, more or less. First week of January, if you're already in the Shadow Work Library, we're getting group calls. We're going to do at least 2 per month throughout the entire year. Crazy, it's actually happening. For January and February, we're going to do 1 per week. But the point of the story, the point of what's happening, rather than just going into the Shadow Work Library moment, the energetics of what happened. As I was saying, I emptied out, and suddenly, especially around the 40-hour mark, I started to get filled. And I sat down on the laptop with joy. And I'll be honest with you, it didn't feel like me. I felt like something even stronger than me. I see Nicole in the chat, I totally resonate with this. Fasting led to me writing a book, cleared enough density and weight to allow for divine guidance. That's what happened to me. Whether you want to call it soul energy, the energy of God, or at the special time of year, Christ consciousness, that's what I experienced, and isn't it wonderful? We're out with the big pines. I could have been anywhere for this live stream. Saw my neighbour, wonderful man, knew he was on the way. Out with the big pines. It's also the basketball court, kind of run down. I used to play basketball here about 3 years ago. I came out here and I taught myself basketball. Look at that. Moody. Very moody. Feels like a like post-apocalyptic kind of scene out back. Luke, I see you in chat. Season's greetings. I'm gonna go put you in a place where I can stand without the camera. I think what we'll do is we'll go here so you can see the pines in the background and I can put you down and finish off the story about the fast. This 48-hour fast emptied me out. It's not the longest fast I've done. I've done 6-day fasts before. It's not the most extreme fast that I've done. I've done no water and no food for a 3-day period before. On one of my birthdays, I did many birthday fasts. I walked a marathon through the German forests. No food, no water. Don't do this. Don't do it. It's not advice. It's just what I did. I've got a beautiful scene that I'm going to show you. Check this out. But the fast taught me many things. Check these webs out. You can see the mount. I don't think it's going to work. That is not the scene we wanted. But we learn. Hopefully you can see it still. Look at those frosty webs. Come on. Look at that. The beauty of creation. Look at this. It's always very special. I love it. What kind of frosty webs are you building this time of year? I'm going to put you in between the frosty webs. Nice mounting point. Hopefully, I'll have the ability mount you up. Excuse the sounds. We've got a very complicated mount with the octopus feet at the bottom, and I'll be able to talk more in the chat. I don't think we've got it. Excuse me. If you're watching live, this will be resolved in about 30 seconds. I'm just trying to mount you onto this, and I'll be able to see the chat. Do you have any ideas for me? We've got a strong mount, we've got maybe over there, I've got a different idea. This one's a bit complex because the space is too small. And then we'll get back into the meaningful chat. I found the perfect spot. Here we go. Just so. This is fun. Got the gate and the stairs, but it's also just completely open. Like, who are you keeping out? It's got a locked gate and then it's completely open. What we have to imagine is that sometime in the early 2000s, maybe even the 90s, this used to be a functional basketball court. This lock has not seen much action for a very long time. From spider webs to rusted lock. And also a nice mounting point for us. I think we found a new spot. New spot unlocked on the live stream. The end of the year. Yeah, this is it. This is it. Wrapping your feet around. There we go. There we go. This is actually a great spot for the future because it's private. Do I look good? Scene looks good. We've got a bit of pines on the one side, compositional elements. Got a nice curve over this way. We've got the ominous, misty ruins of the basketball court. Frostiness, which I'm going to amplify with an even frostier, minty fisherman's friend. A little bit of a stretch, and then I'll come back in on the chat, see what people have been saying, and to round off my story about my fast. If you haven't tried a fast, and you feel inspired, consider 24 hours, and then try 36, and then go for 48, and then 60, 72. Progress it over time. 48 hours was enough for me this time round, and I was exceptionally delightful. Or delighted, or maybe I was delightful. I was delighted that that otherworldly energy came in and allowed me to do the work that I've not been able to do in the busyness of the year. Turned everything off, literally turned off my mind, and then about 6-7 hours after those no mind experiences of being sat there in a library with nothing happening, I knew what I needed to do and I had the energy available to do it. That's my story. If you're going through a challenge at the end of this year, if you're feeling overwhelmed by the world, see if you can find a way to be completely left alone for 2 days. Go to a cabin in the woods, $100 on an Airbnb, get a simple place. Or if you've got a place for yourself, that's fine. Just stay where you are. Make it intentional, turn off the phone. Crucially, I wasn't on my phone at all. I wasn't on YouTube at all. I was just with myself, a bit of music and some books. And it all started coming through in a rather wonderful way. I'm going to take a little walk. We're going to enjoy the scene together. And then I'm going to go back and see what was in the chat. And connect with the energy of the moment. If you've got any questions or any reflections that you'd like me to read out to everyone else here live, now's your opportunity. I'm going to go back in with my streaming phone, take a little walk, come back in, you and me are going to have a talk. What a beautiful, beautiful time of year. This is special. This is really special. Very grateful. Very grateful. Currently reading the comments for the live stream. Don't worry, I haven't regressed. I'm not now swiping rapidly through TikTok shorts. Engaged with what everyone here is saying. Let's see where the conversation's flowing. A real-time moment as we... Oh God, I really like the atmosphere. I really like the atmosphere. I'm stunned. I'm stunned by the beauty of this. I'm averse to looking at the screen, I will be honest with you. I think because I've taken this time offline with the fast and now I'm coming back online for the first time, I don't even want to look at this. I physically don't want to be on the device. Even though I know it's a wonderful connected moment, I get to read your words and connect with you. What I'd rather do is look at this. I know I'm looking at myself on the camera and it's not quite the same, but at least in the periphery I can experience birdsong. And quiet, there's a gentle motorway hum in the background. Sometimes I like to reimagine it as a distant rushing river. The community post on Sunday is about gratitude. I started writing that at hour 26. It's when my body shifted into ketosis. You can feel it happen when your body goes from burning carbs and glucose to burning fuel, fat as fuel and proteins. I'm not going to go into the science of ketosis and going keto, but you feel it happen when you're experienced with fasting. You feel the shift. It's a very particular feeling. You get a sudden burst of energy, and I started writing, and I was filled with an immense sense of gratitude. And if you don't know this about me, as I will share on Sunday, I have a very particular habit of saying thank you to pretty much everything dozens of times per day. For example, as I walked into this basketball court, as embarrassing as it is, I say a small silent prayer of thank you, construction workers, because they built this court 20 or 30 years ago. I'll be at my library and I'll be on my laptop and I'll suddenly say thank you, workers at Dell, for making this laptop. I'll say thank you to the person who made my desk. I don't even know who this is, but it'll happen spontaneously. I term it a positive intrusive thought, and I think it's the healed equivalent to the inner critic. It's the inner appreciator. If you struggle with inner critic, self-hating, self-destructive language, this is me telling you there's a possibility of getting towards the inner appreciator, positive intrusive thoughts. We only ever think of negative intrusive thoughts, but the reality is I don't experience that anymore. I maybe get a moment where I'm a bit hard on myself or a bit judgmental, but none of this shame-based, intensely destructive toxic energy. It hasn't been like that for the best part of 5 years as a result of sobriety, semen retention, intentional living, and deep trauma healing, and pretty much intentional living, progressively so, over the last decade plus. But don't let that discourage you. What I'm trying to say is that you can experience a shift from inner critic to inner appreciator, and you can be cursed with a very positive curse of walking into pretty much any environment that you go into and basically saying thank you trees, thank you Robin, thank you highway construction workers for repaving the road, thank you whoever made this, Ramas, the weight vest. all the time throughout my days for years I've done this. I'll just say little moments of prayer. I don't have a formal gratitude journal, but that's something that I recommend. I recommend you try and experience, but I don't think it's a trying thing. It just happens when you're healthy. It just happens when you're healed. Not perfectly healed, but I'm more or less a healthy person. I know who I am. I know what I am, in many meanings of that word, and I'm enjoying getting to know what this world is in more and more of the deeper meaning of what this world is and what we're here to do. And I think the natural, positive, intrusive byproduct of that is you just say thank you to everything, all the time. Talking about that more in the community post, but let's still say thank you to this live streaming phone, and thank you to you, and see what people have been saying in the chat. In this wonderful, misty mood. I see in the chat from a while back, seeing about some reflections on fasting. See Make 1984 Fiction again. This was maybe about 10 minutes ago, but it's real time for anyone watching the replay. Make 1984 Fiction again said, I also resonate with this. I did a 4-day fast and liver cleanse in September. The clarity and energy that sets in after the first 2 days is almost blissful. Indeed, emptying the self to be filled anew. Fantastic. I see right now at the very bottom of this chat in real time, I'm currently on day 3 of a fast and I'm in my luteal phase in the menstrual cycle. I feel absolutely fine. I've done many extended fasts at different phases and never had an issue. Everyone is different though, in which case you probably started fasting on Christmas Day or maybe just before. Good luck on your fast. Scrolling back now up in the chat, see a variety of people saying Lonely K. Do you remember Lonely K from a few weeks ago? Lonely K asked me how to overcome porn addiction. I think this was actually just last week. Just last week we were talking about porn over at the sheep field, if you remember. I made the joke of not being one of the sheep, going for the stagnant puddles of porn and sucking up all that dirty, toxic, mind and soul polluting energy of strangers on the internet fucking each other for your pseudo pleasure. It's just a waste of time. It is just a waste of time. Your sexuality is so much more powerful and beautiful than that. But Lonely K said, in response to their question on that live stream, a little bit of an update from one of the members in our community. I've been doing retention since your last stream. Reading practices, etc. have helped me for my inner peace, and I agree. But how can I channel my sexual energies healthily instead of cheap porn? I'm really finding no luck. Well, firstly, well done on pulling things back on this week, quite literally. If you're looking for a way to turn all of that energy, all of that male sexual drive into something which is potent and powerful and virile and creative, I can't give you any advice just yet. You're too soon in the journey. If you want symptom relief, go to the gym and focus on lower body workouts. This works for women as well. In that first month of practicing semen retention or cutting out unconscious orgasmic processes, the classic time-tested advice that I've given my clients, and I've seen it work in many, many instances, is do lower body focused heavy weightlifting. And also do a lot of walking. You'll literally open up the channels, and what you need to do if you're used to, I'll be literal, if you're used to this being your organ, and you focus like this, I can't believe I'm doing this, but you focus like this, you're all focused on the tip. You're forgetting your roots. Your roots in a literal sense, your perineum rooting into yourself, the full sexual organ. This is similar for women, again, clitoral stimulation. If you focus just on the tip, just here, focus on the full rooting of your sexuality, and that extends down into your thighs, into your calves, into your feet. If you're struggling with that feeling of horny frustration because you've been hooked on porn and you can't escape the cycle, allow your roots an opportunity to fully extend, perhaps for the first time. Breathe in that charge. Super practical advice now I'm giving. This is like week 1 through to week 6, week 7 of trying to break that cycle for the first time. I remember what that was like. I struggled with this for many, many years, and now I'm 5 years deep. Winter solstice was my 5-year anniversary of unbroken semen retention on this pathway, while still being sexually active. No porn, no ejaculation. Not what I do, but this is how it worked for me. You root with heavy weightlifting, lower body. You can focus on squats, you can focus on jumping exercises, you can focus on lunges, you can focus on depth. You can also do leg machines, you can do a variety of things, but just get movement and blood and consciousness into your lower body. Also do things where your hips are moving, so if you're doing any kind of hip thrusts, quite literally, doing heavy hip thrusts in a really focused way, that works very well for this. And also make sure to be moving, but when you're moving, crucially, this is in the first 1 week to like 8 weeks, this is how to make that energy go down a little bit more. This is something I want to pay attention to. Hopefully you can start moving like this. Most people walk like this. Giving a demonstration now, raising my voice, hopefully you can hear me. Most people walk not only like this, they're kind of down, they're just, I can't even do it, because most people walk, I've got the weight vest on. Most people are kind of like this, they're walking around, and their hips are very locked in. Try and get into it, try and get into the, they'll walk way too quickly. I'll do this is what they'll do. They'll either walk way too quickly in a narrow path like that, or they'll basically slouch. I know the microphone is over here, so you might not hear me. They'll walk really quickly and boxed in, or they'll slouch and they'll be contracted. If you're struggling with sexual energy, this is something that will really, really work. I want you to let the serpentine movement actually take over for the first time. And that will look like, even as a man, you get a bit more swingy. Did you see that? Do it one more time. This is the kind of stuff I do with clients behind the scenes. This is what I can't really do on YouTube because it's so niche and so specific, so it doesn't really do well. I can't, like how to use serpentine motions to help your semen retention practice in the first 1 week to 8 weeks. It's too specific. But the difference, as a man especially, the difference This is how most men walk. They're either like this, or kind of bravado like this. They're swaggering around. I think they're Thomas Shelby. Oi you, I've got a word to give you. And they're all like, oh fuck you energy, like whatever. I'm actually from Birmingham, so interestingly I can't even do a Brummie accent anymore. I can't even do a Brummie accent. Even though I'm from Birmingham, I can't even do it anymore. Fantastic. Anyway, point is, don't slouch, don't bravado. You're struggling with porn, you're struggling with semen retention. This is the unlock. Truly, let it be like this. Be in nature. And let yourself swing. And what I want you to focus on, in a literal sense, your cock and your balls, let them have a heavy, rooted feeling. And swing. And you'll feel it. It's like dancing. You're dancing through your entire lower body. Wear barefoot shoes. It sounds esoteric. Just try it out. I've seen it work with clients privately. You swing. Women already naturally do this because of their bone structure. They've got a different hip structure, so they have a bit more swing. Oftentimes they can go the opposite direction. Sometimes women who are too overcharged actually need to contain themselves a little bit more, not too much, but sometimes they need to learn how to bring themselves in and just get a little bit more contained. That can help bring down the energy. Sometimes, again, women can be very constricted and they're very rigid, and they likewise need to swing. Lower body workouts in the gym, serpentine walking through nature. Try this out, Lonely K, and anyone else who's interested in leaving pornography behind in 2024. I know that many people who watch these lives won't comment. Even if you're watching right now, you won't comment. I don't know who you are. Maybe you've tuned in for all 12 of these over the last few months and you've never left a comment, but you might be struggling with pornography. You might be struggling with compulsive ejaculation even within your marriage or your relationship. Try opening up your hips with the creative feminine flow that you normally attribute to women only. Doesn't mean that I'll use the language, this is very outdated language, but it's something I grew up in. It's kind of cultural conditioning, that's why I'm mentioning it. It's unconscious conditioning for men in their 30s and 40s. Swinging your hips when you're walking doesn't mean you're gay, doesn't mean you're fruity, doesn't mean you're a pussy, doesn't mean those kinds of things. It means you've actually got a vitalized body. It means that you've actually got the ability to be able to engage with life and see and open. Really makes a difference. The way that you walk through the world is the way that you'll walk through the bedroom, quite literally. I should probably do a whole video on this, and there is an entire module on the shadow work library on the sexual shadow and an entire module on bioenergetic shadow. So there's about 6 or 7 hours, actually almost 8 hours worth of teaching inside the shadow work library on these themes. If you want to click the link in the description and especially get involved in the New Year's update with those weekly group seminars, no price change, just more and more connection and teaching. This is what we're going to talk about inside the Shadow Work Library, so you're welcome to join me in there, link in the description, but you're going to be hearing more about this in the coming weeks. Let's move on to a different topic. That was an unexpected caveat, but I think an important one. I guess I went with the energy, and I suppose this time of year there's been a lot of moments where people have been left alone in a low mood, and I think pornography creeps in, especially in the winter time. And if you've been struggling with that vice in particular, I hope this helps. I hope this helps. Looking back now at the chat, let's see what people have been saying in the live stream. Someone said, would you say that women have to consider what part of our cycle in when we're doing fasting? Absolutely. Women who are conscious should consider their cycle pretty much in all things related to the body. Once you've learned the 4 stages of your cycle, you should plan, if you can, based on your lifestyle, your work output, your training, and especially your fasting. You'll find ways to benefit, for example, during the ovulation stage and the ovulatory stage. Usually, for most women, they're more social, they're more outgoing, they've got more energy to get shit done, as it were, and this is usually a good time for fasting. I found from female clients, but it can also be the case if you want to blood fast. Maybe that language makes you cringe, but for me I find it quite empowering. If you want to fast during your bleed, you can have a very, very profound experience. Some women would never want to do this. Other women, based on their bodily intuition, I've seen clients have incredibly transformative, like combined fasting, bleeding, full purging experiences. Alternative topic. It's all anecdotal. You can do your research, but definitely consider your menstrual cycle if you are a woman who's considering doing anything longer than a 24-hour fast. Even intermittent fasting for women, if you look at the health challenges over many, many months with doing 16, 18-hour fasts, most women can't do it for an extended period of time. Their body responds a bit differently to us men. Some women works fantastically. Most, they can't do extended fasting. There's something about the hormonal system. I'm not going to get into the exact science, but do your research. It's fundamentally what I'm going to suggest. Looking now at the chat again. Luke says, I'm interested in trying a fast. Nice work, brother. As I feel my health has deteriorated since I quit drinking. Well done, brother. How did your first fast go? Any advice for a first timer? My advice for a first timer, as I mentioned, if you weren't here live just a few minutes back, about 15 minutes back, is just do 24 hours. Crucially, if you want to do a successful fast, maybe this is a great chat. This is a good conversation. This is a nice moment. I think we'll take a little walk around and we'll talk about how to do a successful fast. Would you guys like to hear that? How to do a very successful fast, what I've learned from about 25 to 30 fasts, how to get the absolute most out of it, how to practically set yourself up in terms of the health benefits and the spiritual benefits. That's what we're going to talk about as we take a little wander. This is a good spot. It's ominous. If you are a first timer or you have tried a fast in the past and it didn't go in your favor, here are my top 3 recommendations, which I'm making up in real time like a YouTuber would. My first recommendation is that you need to detox from caffeine correctly before going into the fast, if you're going for a 48 or 72-hour fast in particular. If you're like me and you like your morning cup of coffee, or you drink a lot of tea or other caffeinated beverages, hopefully not energy drinks, but if you do drink these kinds of things, make sure to taper out your caffeine usage in the week at the very least leading up to the fast, but ideally 2 weeks. Small reductions over time. Don't go cold turkey, it will fucking wipe you out. The only times twice this has happened as the crows go overhead. You won't be able to see them, but you can hear them. Can you see them? Yeah, you can. Maybe just a little bit. The crows are migrating for the evening. God is good. Thank you, crows. The only times that I've been wiped out from a fast, on 2 occasions, these were both on 4-day fasts, I needed to call the fast early on the 3rd day because I didn't taper from coffee correctly. I thought I could get away with it by just reducing to half a cup or reducing the dosage in the few days before the fast, but I was wrong. The caffeine withdrawal will hit you the hardest. It's not the food. Sometimes sugar gets you, but I don't eat a lot of processed sugar or refined sugar. I have a lot of honey, fair to say, but it's organic, high quality honey. If you're used to a lot of crappy food, then there's other challenges. But make sure you taper off caffeine. I've had to quit 2 fasts because I didn't properly taper off the caffeine. And now for this fast, because it was 48 hours, I just made sure to taper off for the entire week beforehand. If it had been a 3-day fast or a 4-day fast, I would have done a week and a half or 2 weeks respectively. So that's my first point. If you're considering doing the fast for health and spiritual reasons, lower the caffeine. My second point for success is to make sure, practically speaking, that you remain well hydrated and you supplement salt and lemon. Small bits of salt and lemon, hot water, hot salty lemony water, especially for this 24-hour, 48-hour fast period. Just keep that going. The acidity and the sodium really help out. If you can get high quality Himalayan salt, that's pretty useful. Just a super practical advice. And the third point, I'm going to recommend, you'll like this one, how to make the most of the fast, how to get through it, is to lean into the fact that it's meant to be a little bit difficult. It's meant to test your willpower. It's not going to be mentally easy that first time, which is why 24 hours is enough, and then 36 hours, and then 48 hours. Once you've gone through that first fasting experience and you understand that you're safe, even if you don't have food for 24 hours, you're not going to die. And you calm yourself down, you come back into center. You'll never forget that. You will never forget that. It teaches you something about your psychology, and it also teaches you something about all of the various cravings that you get in your ordinary life Once you've gone 48 hours or 72 hours, or if you've ever gone over the 100-hour mark without eating, when you're at an airport or a train station and you feel, oh, I'm a little bit hungry, I need to eat. And you've got a memory deep inside your psyche, stored in your body, of the fact that no, I'd like to eat. My body does require fuel from one perspective, but you don't have to. And there's a liberation in that. I'm not suggesting that you skip loads of meals. I'm not suggesting that you develop some kind of iron mind and you refuse to eat all the time. But just as a general sense of liberation, this third and final point of how to make the most of your first fast, accept that it's going to be difficult and look towards the wonderful possibility that when you've gone through this kind of difficult ritual ordeal, you will never forget this. You'll never forget it. I've had so many moments, even when I went out to Vienna just a few weeks ago, where I was travelling and I'm a little bit hungry, but I don't want to eat anything in any of these shops. I can wait 2 or 3 hours until I get back home and make something tastier. Right? Because you've gone through the experience. Just some practical advice for you, Luke, and anyone that's considering doing some fast. Luke said in the chat, thank you for taking the time to answer my question. Really appreciate it so much. Thank you for being a consistent inner worker, Luke. I've seen you throughout the year, and also many people in the chat want to shout you out as we're coming to the very end of the year. I see the familiar faces. It's kind of I don't know how usual it is. I don't know how usual my approach is to YouTube in general, because I try and keep it as personal as possible. But I do recognise people. When I'm going through the comment section, I have a recognition of probably at this stage anywhere between 500 to 600 people. I see people's usernames, I see people's profile pictures, and I store in my memory little bits of connection points to comments they left. If they're frequent commenters, I'll store little memories of some childhood story or something they're working on or a book that they've read, and it'll come back to me. I don't know, my mind's interesting. It's kind of, I've never articulated this. If you're a frequent commenter on the channel and you left a comment a month back and you said you were reading Healing the Child Within or Carl Jung's Archetypes and Collective Unconscious, and then you leave another comment on the video saying something completely unrelated, something goes off in my brain. I'm like, they read that person. and then I tap on it and it's confirmed. I'm like, okay. I don't know if it's a useful skill, I'm just storing up memories of what my community is reading or what my community is healing, but I think it's a result of the client work that I do. As I mentioned about half an hour ago, one of the things that happened when I did my fast is that my brain turned off, my mind emptied out for the first time. In the entire year, I went an extended period without thinking about my clients because I deeply care about them. I really care about them, that's why I only work with ideally 5 people or 6 people at once at any given time. I want to know pretty much everything so I can be useful at the maximal capacity, and that means that I'm spiritually tapped in. Dreams often come through. Dreams, this is the more esoteric stuff, I almost hesitate to share it. It's kind of woo-woo. I think you'd like to hear it. Would you like to hear it? I'm somewhat embarrassed to share this because it seems Shall we share the esoteric insides of what it's like to do a mentorship with me and you and me connect for 4 months and what happens at a soul level as we head through the playground and the sports pitches. Okay, there's a lot of support of talk about the woo-woo. We're at the football pitches. Okay, we're gonna do it. Fun fact, this is where I used to train during lockdown, during that crazy time. And those are the bars where I first learned how to muscle up. That's where I did my very first muscle up, over there. Let's go over to it. I'll talk about what it's like to do a mentorship with me, seeing as about 10 people came in on the chat and said, talk about the woo-woo side of working with people. We'll talk about this as we wrap up the stream, and I'll take you over to the pull-up bars where I first learned how to do a muscle up. I don't know when this was. A bar muscle up. I did a ring muscle up like 8 years ago, but I hadn't done a bar muscle up. I'd do one now, but I'm wearing a weight vest and I did 30 muscle ups yesterday on the rings and then did weighted dips, so I'm not going to do more. Not in one set. I did 10 sets of 3 on the rings, to clarify. I'm going to put you down just on here, and we're going to talk about what it's like to do a mentorship. We'll do this instead. This is so fun. If you're an OG friend of mine, you'll remember me training out here. Does anyone remember this? Anyone remember these scenes? Has anyone been around? Before I talk about the mentorship, have you been around since 2020, 2021? Maybe even 2022. Have you seen these bars? I used to do a lot of barefoot movements. I was doing animal patterns. I'd do bear crawls and monkey crawls on the ground. I was doing a lot of dancing in this area as well. Yeah, for old-time viewers. Yeah, Rini says I remember. A few people as well probably watching on the replay. I'm going to lock you in on a very slippy wooden surface. I think it might be too slippy. And then we'll talk about mentorship, or the inner spiritual experience. There we go, we're good. Exceptionally slippy. Cool. So, what I was saying, we got a dog walker here, so just be a moment where someone's going past. Yeah, I see Make 1984 in the chat saying, I remember this, and I remember got a wonderful husky approaching as well, which is quite nice. I see in the chat I've had some pretty interesting and strange experiences. Hey buddy. Hey. It's a beautiful dog. Have a great walk. Just take a moment here while the husky learns how to do a muscle up. Imagine that. Husky jumps in the bars. Might not have the best form to do a muscle up if you're a dog. Might be a bit rough. But it's the effort that counts. Okay, we're sitting on the ground. Real throwback today. We've gone down to the basketball courts. This was all very 2021 for me. And then this place as well. I wish this would stay still. Thank you for the patience you've given me. I don't think it will. It's exceptionally slippy. I remember using, this is what you're on. I'm just going to show you, it's not going to work. So you're on these, and if you've ever walked on these, wet wood, it's so slippy. I used to do barefoot jumping. I used to jump between them. I used to do precision jumps, but it's too slippy for a functional setup. So what we might need to do is go back over, set you up on a beam, and navigate in real time. But this has been a real throwback stream for me. I spent a lot of time out here, 2020, 2021, spent a lot of time down there as well. It's almost like the mist at the end of the year has brought back memories of the past, which relates to what I've been doing over in Vienna when I started writing my first book and reflecting on my childhood history. I've got about 11 pages of usable material. It took me about 25 hours to get those 11 pages, but I will share them with you eventually. And now we're properly set up, I should be able to make this. Be right back. I'm going to make this light a little bit less yellow. You can enjoy the football pitch. I've actually only got 13 minutes left on the light, so we're going to have to be quick on the stream. There we go. We've got 10 minutes left of illumination, so let me tell you what it's like to work with me, spiritually speaking, as we're out at this football field. Spiritually speaking, when we start the mentorship, it's too low. I tried. I'm going to hold you up. I get a lot of dreams, is what I'm embarrassed to say, because there's no technical science for this. It's something that I don't talk about publicly because I try and focus on the professional and the therapeutic. Isn't it interesting? Like meta-aware moment, because I'm talking about something that's somewhat challenging for me, because I've never publicly spoken about this before. I want to move, because the energy is moving forwards. I don't want to be in one place. I want to move through space as we're moving through a new idea. And that's a comfort thing. Something for you to notice. If you ever struggle with articulating yourself, see what happens if you walk as you're recording the voice note, or you walk when you're on the phone with someone and you're in a difficult conversation, you'll often find that energy can move through you when you literally move through space. Bit of a meta teaching moment. I think people can relate to this. What happens when you're doing a mentorship with me? Jordan avoiding the question. For the last 4.5 years of doing client work full time, I usually, during a mentorship, even my clients don't know this, that's why I'm hesitating. Well, you know what? It's a Christmas gift. Christmas gift, any current clients, or if you're going to be one of my future clients, this is what happens behind the scenes, and I don't even share it with people. I've never articulated this. I get, in the course of the 4 months, usually at least a dozen dreams related to the client, related to the individual, related to you as a person, if you were my client, because I dream 4 to 6 dreams every single night, and have done since memory began, with great narrative complexity, an immense sense of meaning and spiritual and symbolic significance often with my dreams. I always live in this dream state. Have done for years, all of my memory. And when I'm working with a client, because I open myself up so significantly to the work that we're doing, and I really understand their memory. I mean, from the very first session, we do a full life review. Very first session in the mentorship, we do a full life review from birth, sometimes pre-birth, sometimes ideas of pre-birth, all the way up to where they're now. And this is usually all of the darkness in a way that they've never shared before. All of the light as well, secret dreams, secret fantasies, things they've always known to be true but they've never shared with anyone. It all comes out. Session 1. Session 1 is like everything. And I fill pages and pages of notes, and you put a seed into my soul, as it were. And I dream on it. I dream on it for months. That's why if you've ever seen my mentorship, you can see it pinned down in the description. Some people say, why do you charge so much? Personally, I don't believe that I charge that much compared to the rates of full-time coaches or therapeutic figures in a major capital like London or New York, but I understand it's a fair investment. £7,400 to work with me for 4 months. Why is it that much, even if it's only 12 formal sessions? It's because it's 4 months of my life and my energy and my unconscious process. I am exceptionally careful who I choose to get in a mentorship with these years. This year in particular, next year especially so. In fact, I'm prioritizing shadow work library students as my major priority, so fun fact, 80% of the clients I want to have in 2025, I want them to have gone through the shadow work library, at least in part, because then we get to begin at the more intermediate and advanced levels. We spend less time in the beginner, you've already read the books. So if you're in the shadow work library, take use of the shadow work library special offer, because you're pre-qualified, essentially. You're pre-qualified to be someone who gets access to my soul and my unconscious states. And that's what happens. I dream. And many of the dreams I won't share with the clients because it's too much. Otherwise, I'd be coming back online on a Thursday and I'd come in and imagine you're one of my clients, and if every Thursday I came back in after Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all the dreams I've had that I've recorded, I'm suddenly saying, oh, I dreamt this dream about you and you were doing this. You were out in a mountain and you were going down this, and I already broke this down and it's got these various layers of meaning, and I understand how this relates to what you were talking about in session 3, and next session for session 9 we're going to talk about. I don't articulate it, but it's always happening perpetually. Always. I keep such a small client load because for me to make the most of this process and be able to just so happen recommend the right book at the right time, or say the right thing at the right time, or have the right somatic movement at the right time, it's because I've been paying attention for the entire week. And I love it. I love it. I think it's such a special way to teach. It's such a wonderful way to connect with people. And it's a very unique way of working and earning a living. That's what my mentorship is like for me on the inner world. Which is why it was very strange for me to have that experience during the 48-hour fast where I felt all the energy withdraw from the clients around the world. I've got several in America, some in Europe. I don't currently have anyone in Asia, but I work all around the world and I feel my energy stretch across the time zones. It's so magical for me. I love the work, but it does come with its spiritual implications. And it's the first time we're sharing about what happens of my dream states when you're working together. And unfortunately, although I want to keep going, I might be able to keep going. I think I've got an idea. I was going to say I'm going to have to go because the light is about to die. But what I think we can do is we can do this. We can get super rugged and we can keep live streaming with this on my face. It's quite intense. Maybe a bit too intense. This is me. Oof. I don't know how this looks for you, but I kind of want to keep going. I want to keep walking and talking. It's a bit too bright. Yeah, let me know what you want me to talk about. I know I didn't get through everyone in the chat, but we've been talking about how to fast, my learnings from the fast, my experience of working with people, not only in dream states, but also when I go for walks. Like right now, as I mentioned, I'm thinking of my 5 current clients, and they all come to my mind because we're connected. I see Alex in the chat. I see Rachel saying thank you for your vulnerability. Many comments. There's been dozens of comments while I've been speaking, and I didn't get the opportunity to stream to talk to everyone in the way that I normally would. But hope you've been enjoying my quite honest and somewhat vulnerable, somewhat raw, truthful, courageous reflections. Just sharing my world at the end of this year. Alex says in the chat, is there something you would recommend to be a priority regardless of the type of person? I don't know what you mean by that question, I'm afraid. You need to expand on that. I see Sephora saying, welcome back. I see you, Sephora, often in the chat. Thank you for sharing this gift. What a beautiful piece of knowledge and deep insight. Thank you, Sephora. I see Serious Prophet. I think that's Victor. Yeah, Victor, that's you, right? Loving it. Good to see you, brother. Arpita, Pat Nike, thank you for sharing. And Miss Gomez, do you do any rituals before going to bed that help you access your dreams better, or just remember them? Yes, I do. I'm going to give you know what, you're going to love this. This is how to remember your dreams better, and how to make the most of your dream state. I'm going to give it you all for free on this live stream at the very end. How to make the most of your unconscious exploration. Here it comes. You ready? We're going to deliver the truth beneath the pull-up bars. You want to know? You want to know? Stop doing drugs and drinking. 80% of people who are watching this aren't 6 months sober. They haven't fully healed their unconscious mind. They haven't healed their unconscious body from the influence of those substances. If you don't drink or do drugs, your dream state will be affected so much. It's why in the mentorships I demand sobriety. No drink, no drugs, no vapes, no cigarettes, no weed, no party drugs. It's because if you want to access intermediate and advanced unconscious territory, you want to push into the higher unconscious and the lower unconscious, expand your bands of perception, you need to be free of discordant energies. Drink and drugs, 6 months. That's the number one way to make the most of your dream states. You'll remember more because you're not fuzzy and foggy. If you're already at that stage, if you're already 6 months sober or more, and we do some pull-ups. I thought I'd want to do a workout stream. Do a weighted. I'm going to do a workout. I'll do a workout later. I'm going to the gym after this. I kind of want to though. You can't be under a pull-up bar and not do a few pull-ups. Am I going to pull up for you though? I'll pull up afterwards. I've got 12 kg on my chest. Let's talk about dreams. You don't want to see me doing pull-ups. If you're already sober, how to make the most of your dream state is, firstly, start tracking your dreams and start paying attention to them. If you start paying more attention to your dreams and you see them as more significant, you'll naturally start remembering. In the same way that if you have a certain priority in life, you'll always see opportunities to express that priority no matter where you go. If you're into a certain type of business, you'll always listen for that kind of business opportunity in any conversation. If you're into a certain type of hobby, you'll always pick it out. If you're into learning about your dreams, start prioritizing your dreams. And you'll just remember. It sounds stupidly simple. Stop doing drugs, stop drinking, and care about it more. But it is that simple. I could get super technical and like drink this type of herb, and it's irrelevant. Honestly, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. What matters most is sobriety and intention. And then the sleeping dreams will also become a training ground for your daydreams. Don't just do dream work at night. Do it in the middle of the day. When you're walking around and you catch yourself fantasizing, what is that if not a waking dream? You've got an opportunity for active imagination. You're immediately presented with the opportunity to see what your unconscious is up to. What are you focusing on? What do you care about? What's worrying you? Where do you dream? Where do you fantasize? Where do you hope to be? Is it a man? Is it a woman? Is it a new job? Is it a new country? That's a waking dream. It's a waking dream. It's the best advice I could give you about how to make the most of the dream states. I see Mr. Clark's classroom in the chat. Billy, welcome, brother. Love this live stream. Thanks, Jordan. I've missed the past few, so great to catch one live. I typically remember almost all of my dreams every night, so good to hear it being discussed. Yeah, you're doing the work. You're also reading plenty of books and doing your own teaching, so it makes sense that they're coming through. If you professionalize as a helper, you'll actually get, and that's behind the scenes, that's advanced level stuff, but if you do professionalize and continue to professionalize, like I was mentioning earlier in the stream with my clients and the people I'm coaching, you tap into their dream states. So that's next level. That's next. Synchronicity is the hell of a drug. You don't need road. How do you explain getting the same dream as someone? How do you explain at the start of a session saying, I think we should focus on this? And they say, well, Jordan, you're not going to believe what I dreamt about last night. It's this. We're more interconnected than we possibly understand. Truly. I see Lonely K saying, Mr. Clark's classroom, loved your recent video on shadows. Cool. Yeah. Mr. Clark is doing some teaching work, and I think he's building his online presence, so you can go check him out. He's sharing a lot of the ideas that we talk about here. So more help is always more helpful. We need great teachers doing great work out here. I see Mountain Laurel Lee, your integrity around sobriety was what inspired my own this past year. Good work. I like hearing this. I love it when people tell me that they're 3 months, 6 months, 1 year sober because they watch one of my videos or they heard me saying something and they've gone sober. Lonely K, I received an Amazon gift card. If you recommend one physical book, what would it be for me now? Well, if you're struggling with pornography addiction, as we mentioned about half an hour ago, then read Cupid's Poisoned Arrow. That is the book. Or you could get a Mantak Chia book on sexual energetics. My recommendation would be Cupid's Poisoned Arrow. Eric, good to see you in the chat. I think we're squeezing out the final bit of light from this device, or maybe my internal timer's gone off and we're about to end the light from here. In which case I'll bring out my phone. Everything's dark now. Dim silhouettes in the background. I see in the chat, Rennie, there was a period in my life I felt connected to someone who I didn't see often, but I knew when that person was ill or felt bad because my left eye felt strangely irritated each time it happened to me, yeah? Psychosomatic unconscious connections people were connected to. I very much relate to that. See, R. Peter saying, should you analyze your dreams? The answer is yes. Just don't let Google do it for you. Don't Google the meaning of your dream. Just make your own associations. From a classical Jungian perspective, there's several ways to do dream work. At the basic level, you've got your personal associations and you've got collective associations. When you Google, you skip out your individual. And it's a big fuck you to your own personal development. Just take it back to the number one point. Why is the fox significant to you? Why is the oak tree significant to you? Why is that certain character from your past significant to you? When you Google, you remove the you and it becomes a collective theme based on algorithms. So don't leap into that too soon. Don't give yourself the middle finger if you're doing dream work. Just slow it down. You don't need to do it. It's all you anyway. All of dream work is you fundamentally. If you want to get into the archetypal realm and understand the wider dream significance, then sure, go and do some research. But it's fundamentally you. So just keep it basic. I see support in the chat. This is also interesting. I never knew this. I wish to connect deeply in these ways, and I can with the forest and animals, but not people yet. Yeah, you can synchronistically connect with people. Currently approaching 80 minutes on the live. The dark is going. I think the light is fading. And I think we got a little bit more of the conversation out as a result of the... I don't know, it's at 10 minutes, but we've gone well over 10 minutes. We've been gifted by a little bit extra light. Isn't that beautiful? We've been given just the right amount of light that we need to get through to the end of the stream as the darkness surrounds us. And remember, winter solstice on the 21st of December, that was the darkest day. If you're in the northern hemisphere, that was the darkest day. But now, every single day, a few minutes more light. And I think I got a few more minutes of light as well, which I'm grateful for. Any moment the darkness could surround me, but even if it does, know that you are safe in the dark. The dark is a fertile place. The cold winter's ground is full of possibility, and the spring is just about to blossom. We've got a few more months of the cold, a few more months of inner work, and if you do want to make the most of this fertile time, do tap the link in the description. You're going to see me talking about the Shadow Work Library a hell of a lot in the next streams because I'm relaunching. We've got group seminars coming in, we've got group coaching. You finally get an opportunity to talk to other people in real time in the same way that you have in this community space here. For £750, you're not going to get a better situation out of me. Honestly, you're not. You've seen, if you've been around for a few years, how I've increased my mentorship price rate. £750 to be doing weekly calls for January and February, group calls, group Sunday seminars, 90 minutes, maybe even 2 hours. You get to talk to everyone else, you get to talk to me, we get to do real inner work together, and then continue that for the whole year at a rate that's frankly ridiculous. My business advisors and people that I speak to say, Jordan, you should charge at least 4 or 5 times more for this, and I will in the future. With my school in 2026, I will request more for the amount of energy that it requires. But right now, we're doing the first year of the community space. So if you've been enjoying these live community engagements and you enjoy chatting with people, consider what it's like to be part of a private community where you get abilities to talk with each other in real time and also private messaging. I don't know what's going to happen in that space, but that's up to you. I'm not the policeman who's moderating what you choose to share with other Shadow Work Library members. If you choose to send some direct messages, and maybe you fall into projection, fall into love, fall into hate, fall into deeper understanding of self and other, that's on you. But I'm going to provide you the space for it. So, I'll see you in there, and otherwise, as I was saying, the fertile soil, the darkness and the light, if you're prepared to go into the shadow, the golden shadow as well. Join me in the link in the description. Check out the community post on Sunday, and keep your eyes peeled for the motivational 2025 videos that everyone loves to do in January, including me. 25 books for this, 25 tips for this, 25 signs for that. And I know that as soon as I end this light is going to go off. I have no idea. We've got double the juice out of the light compared to the timer on the background. I almost want it to end immediately. I want it to end without me touching it. Can I summon it off? Can we summon it off in the chat? Can we collectively summon it off? As we sign out, can we get this light to go off, to end? I see Sephora, a seed grows in the darkness of the soil. Sephora, damn right. Seeds grow downwards. My community post from last week. Not fruits and branches, but roots and rocks. This has been a year of roots and rocks for me. Underground year. Growing underground, preparing, getting ready. And the fast opened up the energy for the next level of teaching and the next level of leadership and the next level of connectivity, and I'm very excited for it. I'll see you in the Shadow Work Library. If you tap the link in the description, I'd love to see you in there. Just an opportunity for us to chat, quite honestly, and be able to make major progress for the whole of the year. Connect with other people. But that's enough for now. I'll see you soon, and next time we speak like this, I think it'll be the new year. So I'll see you then. See you in the chat. Thank you for your time, Jordan. Have a lovely evening. Bamboo growth. Bye for now, everyone. I don't want to go. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? I don't want to go. It's like that moment when you're on a call with your girlfriend or your boyfriend. It's like, you hang up first. No, you hang up first. I'm really enjoying that energy. I'm really enjoying this energy. The fast emptied me out, and I'm very ready to show up with even more to give you this year. And I look forward to your response as you receive this. And of course, it's going to be reading a lot of books as well. So keep your eyes peeled. Link in the description, final time, link in the description. I'm promoting my own course because I'm very proud of it, and it's going to get even better. So just check it out. Make the most of this year. I know you're a smart person. I know you could do with a bit of accountability. I know you could do with some structure. I know that paying a bit of money for something makes you pay attention, so just consider the fruits of 4 years of hard work right there. Community upgrades coming soon. I'll see you on Sunday.